Welcome to Books and Beyond with That Guy Jay. I am your host, That Guy Jay, and today I am joined by Zoe Yohn. She is a content creator, she's a fellow podcaster, and she's a writer. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so delighted to be on your podcast and to be here chatting with you.
Now, I've tried to remember to do this every episode, and I forget sometimes, but what are you currently reading? I like to start with something easy.
Oh my god, I'm actually so excited that you've asked me this because I started a new book maybe 3 or 4 days ago and I can't put it down. It is technically a trilogy. It's literary fiction. It's called The Country Girls by Edna O'Brien. She passed maybe a year or 2 ago, but was a very, prominent, well-known Irish writer, and this book is about young girls in, the 50s and 60s who live in the Irish countryside, and eventually they move up to Dublin, and it's just following their lives, but it is so good. I can't believe I haven't read it until now, and I can't put it down.
That's amazing. I don't think I've heard of that. I'll have to look it up. I'm currently picking my way through the Reformatory. It's fantastic, but I don't know why it's taking me so long. I've been on it for like 10 days. I'm
Oh,
usually a
no.
faster reader than that, but been
And
busy.
quick question, do you ever DNF books?
I DNF'd my first book ever this year,
How'd
and
it feel?
it was weird. But then, like, within a month, I DNF'd a second book. The first one, everyone was like proud of me for the first DNF, all of my book talk friends. It was an old sci-fi. It's considered like a sci-fi classic. It's called Ringworld. Super
Mhm.
cool concept. I love old sci-fi, but I tend to run into issues with a lot of old sci-fi writers because they're like painfully misogynistic. And like I can let a certain amount of stuff go because of, it was written in a different time. But it's like this one was just especially bad. And I was like, this doesn't make up for the concept.
Y
The
the
concept isn't that
time.
good. And then I DNF'd Lonesome Dove, which people were pretty upset about, but I've read 500 pages of a 950-page book, so, like, I gave it the old college try.
You gave it more than the college try. I think we can applaud both of those, and generally very proud of you for DNFing as well. It's something that I have a lot of trouble with. So anytime someone does it, I'm like, "Yes, amazing."
It's so funny because, like, in the rest of my life, I'm not necessarily a completionist, like, if I get bored with a video game, I'll just stop playing, it's fine.
Mhm.
But for some reason with books, I think it's, like, there's a certain amount of nosiness in me, and I'm like, "I have to know how it ends." And so for, like,
I
Some Dove, everyone loves it, and I was like, "I'll just watch the miniseries."
Yeah. Oh, I didn't even know it was a miniseries. That's great. That's even better.
Yeah, it's a four-part from, like, 1989. It's got, who's it? Gosh, I forget who's in it.
We'll look it up. No problem.
Yeah,
We'll
there's
figure that out
some
later.
big names, but yeah, I have to say it was kind of freeing because I was on that book for, like, 2 weeks, and I was only halfway through, and
You
everyone was like, "You should start DNFing," and it's freeing.
it is. You never whenever I finish a book that I should have DNF'd, I don't feel good. I read, The Historian earlier this year, and I just didn't like it, and I just pushed and pushed and pushed myself until I got to the end, and I finished it, and I was like, "I don't feel better or more accomplished for reading this book. I just feel like I've wasted a lot of time." And that's what started me on my DNF journey. I still have only DNF'd a few books, but
It's what I finished a book last fall for, an online book club that I was in, and I ended up rating it, like, 1.5 stars. I really disliked it, and then, like, I feel bad leaving a review that low because in theory, it's like, it obviously wasn't for me. I shoulda just stopped, but I pushed through that one, and it's like, I same feeling. It's like, I did not feel great. It's like, didn't feel accomplished. I was like, "I just wasted extra time I didn't have to waste."
well, it's so that and I know you have questions, so I don't wanna keep yapping at you, but it's interesting because, I too, I feel that way about books. It's like it's really subjective. Just because I didn't like something doesn't mean it's not for someone else. That clearly just wasn't the book for me. But then also, I guess on the flip side of that is if you're not honest about your reviews, then how will other people know whether or not maybe it is for them or for not them?
Yeah, it's interesting. I just released a podcast this morning with an author, Evan Lycum is his name. He's a fantasy author, and he started on Book Talk, and then, he's got quite a decent following over there, and we were discussing DNFing and knowing when it's time to move on, and, like, he said too is that he's like, "I'll DNF a book after 5 minutes." He's like, "It's a soft DNF, I put it back on the shelf." He's like, "Maybe I'm in the wrong headspace." And
Mm.
he was like, "Even as an author," he's like, "People have DNF'd my book." He's like, "I saw some one-star reviews," and he's like, "I just appreciate that they took the time to try it." And he really hit on it too, is, like, not every piece of media is for every person, and it's so valid, and I usually have 2 or 3 books going at a time. It's like I have a sci-fi audiobook that I listen to before bed. I'm in the middle of a 7-book series, and it's like, I don't know if I could put my main focus into that, but, like,
Mhm.
20, 30 minutes every night before bed, it's perfect.
That's a great idea, I should start doing that. Like, I listen to a lot of nonfiction, but I do love the idea of plugging into something that, yeah, maybe my attention isn't fully there, but that I would still be kind of interested in fiction-wise. It's a good idea.
Yeah, I usually put a 15-minute timer, and
Mhm.
most times I'm out by the time the timer goes off, and I just go back a few pages in the audio the next morning.
Perfect, I love that system.
Now, in terms of your reading journey, have you always been a reader your whole life? I'm a late in life reader myself.
Oh, I didn't know that. I have always been a reader. This is a really weird anecdote, but when I was maybe in 1st grade, maybe kindergarten, my parents bought me the Junie B. Jones books for Hanukkah, which is a series of very, very young adult chapter books about a kindergartner named Junie B. Jones who's very, she doesn't answer kindly to authority. She's a little bit, she's like a Ramona Quimby kind of figure. Either way,
Okay.
I remember they bought me the books, and not that I was uninterested, but I was so young that I was like, "Wait a minute, this is supposed to be for toys. Like, I want toys here." And I threw the book, like, I didn't throw it, I just, "Okay, thanks," put it away, and I had my sister was, like, a toddler at that stage, and I remember her, like, ripping out, like, maybe the intro page or something, and I was so upset, and I felt so guilty, which probably I need to go to therapy for, but, like, I that's what prompted me to start reading is I was like, "Oh my god, this book has just been hurt, a page has been ripped out of it," and that's what started me reading myself as a reader, and I never stopped. I was the kid getting sick in the back of a car because I was reading. I was being, scolded at the dinner table because I brought my book to the dinner table. I read in the bath. I read at school constantly, and then eventually, I loved reading so much that I went on to do 3 higher level degrees in literature. I just can't stop.
Yeah, I was very much, especially in high school, I was just the cliche kid that was like, "Books are dumb." And
That is so hard to believe. What got you
yeah,
back into it?
oddly enough, it was the Da Vinci Code. In
Really?
Yeah, I joined the Navy in 2004,
Mhm.
and I had, like, 4.5 months between when I enlisted until when I went to boot camp. And I was a sophomore in college, and all of my friends were at school. I was, like, working super part-time and had nothing to do, nobody to hang out with, and everybody had been talking about the Da Vinci Code for, like, a year, and I was like, "Alright, let me try, I'm bored." And I devoured that book, and it like, from there, I immediately went and bought Angels and Demons, which was, like, the prequel, and I went through all of his books, I think, before I even went to boot camp, and basically from then, I've been a reader, and I stuck with thrillers throughout my 20s, and then Game of Thrones came out, and season 1
Mm.
happened, and everybody was talking about it, and I have to read a book before I see the show or movie. So I was like, "Let me just get book 1 and give it a try," and I was just reading it on the subway commuting to work, and within, like, 2 weeks, I was done with that book, and that's a chunky book, and
That's a
like
really chunky book.
I was like, "Turns out maybe I am a fantasy guy too," like, didn't know that about myself. So that was, like all of it was later in life for me.
That's amazing, though. I love a story like that, like someone who picks it up later in life, they're like, "Great." Because I think that is something that I see a lot with book talk is a lot of people who are like, "I was not a reader." Maybe it's like, "Oh, I was having trouble falling asleep and needed to be off my phone," and they pick something up and they're like, "Whoa, this is really, really good. I think I like this hobby."
Yeah, I got heavily back into it because of Book Talk. I was, like, an occasional reader through, like, I don't know, the last, like, 6 or 7 years leading up to discovering Book Talk a couple years ago.
Mhm.
And then I found Book Talk, and I didn't post for a long time. I just consumed, and my TBR was endless, and found so many great authors because I didn't really have my finger on the pulse in the book world, and I hadn't really even heard of, like, Brandon Sanderson or some of the big fantasy books that people talk about, and I got heavy back into it. But, yeah, in high school, I was very much like Spark Notes and Cliff Notes, faking my way through projects, like,
What
to
would
the
your
point.
English teachers think now? You have a podcast about books. You should send this to them.
I ran into my senior year well, actually, I had him for freshman and senior year, because 'cause I'm originally from a small town, so small school,
Mhm.
and I ran into him when I was in my mid-20s, and I was like, "Hey, I'm sorry," and he was like, "For what?" And I was like, "I was a little shit." I was like, looking back, I really was, like, I was super argumentative. He's like, someday you're gonna, enjoy this, Jason," and I was like, "I'm never gonna read a book after college, that's dumb." And, yeah, here I am. It's like,
Lo and behold,
have a book talk account, have a podcast, like, it's my main hobby in life.
that's
But
amazing.
literally, I was thinking about it the other day. I haven't missed a day of reading in, like, 2.5 years.
That's incredible.
Sometimes
I
it's been a page, but it counts.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. I was about to say, like, "Ooh, I don't know about me," but I think you're right. I think I always manage a page or, yeah, 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 I'd say I manage a page.
Yeah, I mean, it's cheating a little bit sometimes too because 'cause I'm listening to an audio after midnight, so it's like but I stuck it in on that date. I
No,
usually
absolutely.
read
Yeah,
again
no,
after that, but
oh, too good.
now one of the main things I wanted to talk to you about because 'cause you're the only person I've seen on Book Talk that talks about this regularly is these guys here, is journaling. This is something I've gotten into in the last, like, year and a half. It's something I've tried on and off, but it's finally stuck, and it's like a daily ritual for me. So I'm curious, when did you discover journaling? And if you're comfortable talking about it, like, a little bit about your methods, because I know everybody does it differently.
Oh my god, no, I can talk about journaling for the rest of my life. Very similar to reading, I was a very early journaler. Specifically, I remember reading Harriet the Spy, which is a book about a young girl who gets a composition notebook and she starts writing all of these really horrific things about her friends. And eventually, of course, the journal is found. Her friends are horrified and very, very hurt, and they, you know, distance themselves from her, and she's left lonely in a depressive state, yada, yada, yada. There's a happy ending. But I remember reading that book and I was like, I was just fascinated with the idea of having a journal and specifically a composition journal. So, funnily enough, went out, my parents bought me one. I ran home from the store. I didn't quite take in the lesson of Harriet the Spy because my first journal entries were, like, really horrifically mean things about my 4th grade friends, and not only did I do that, but then I, ran into the kitchen, I was like, "Mom, listen to what I've just written," and she was like, "I don't think that's what that's for."
Yeah, yeah, you weren't supposed to follow the book exactly.
Literally, exactly. Luckily, no one saw that, and but what it did, teach me was like, "Okay, this is a place where I can." From the get-go, I would probably say that I was pretty good about using a journal to log my thoughts and not just what I was doing. There were definitely a couple of years when I was maybe in, like, early middle school, high school, where it was like, "Today I did yada, 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 and then I did yada, yada, yada." But I kinda think from day 1, I was pretty good about, like, this is how I feel about the world. I had a bad day. Um and that's kind of what I still use my journal for now. I have a couple of different things that I do in my journal. The practices there's kind of like an end cap, a starting and end cap practice that I use every single day. I do morning pages first thing in the morning, which is just like 3 pages of brain dumping from that book, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And that's fantastic because it's like you wake up, you get out the journal. I have a specific pen I use for my morning pages, and it's like stream of consciousness. I'm not using punctuation, I'm not editing myself. It's whatever kinda needs to come out. And then at the end of the day before I go to bed, I do a gratitude entry, so 3 things I was grateful for that day, which has also been really, really beneficial. When I look back through those entries, it's never, like I won the lottery, like, I have a new job. Like, the things that I'm grateful for consistently are like, I took a really nice walk with my dog today. I met up with a friend for coffee, which is just a really nice, like, wholesome thing to realize that the things I'm grateful for are just kinda day-to-day moments.
Right.
Um, Besides that, I kind of use my journal as, like, a catch-all for everything. Like, if I'm feeling really, really excited about something and I feel like I just, like, kinda need to get it out, I'll put it in my journal. Same goes if I'm having, like, a really, really bad day or I'm very frustrated or anxious, like, and I just need to, like, kinda get it somewhere outside of my body and my head. I also use my journal for note taking, which is a more recent development. But, if I'm watching like a YouTube essay that I find really interesting, or if I've just finished a book and I want to like, what are the things I liked about it? Like, I find that I use it. Um, maybe I think it's called like a commonplace book, which is just quotes and notes and thoughts about the world.
Yeah, I've been seeing I watch YouTube videos about this stuff too. I always like to try and
Hmm.
find different methods. I've over the years I've started and had 2 weeks worth of journaling so many times where it never stuck, and oddly enough, what made it stick for me is a little over a year ago, I got into fountain pens, like just a
Ooh,
silly
yes.
fountain pen, and I really like writing with this, but I have no reason to really put pen to paper most days other than my
Mhm.
journal, so it's like, that really kept me in the habit, and I also do morning pages. That was something I came across, and I usually just I use it when I first wake up to kinda clear my head of any I'm very prone to, like, negative self-talk, and so it's
Mhm.
like I get that all out on the page so that I can go throughout my day with, like, more of a clear mind, and I try and do I do at night, I just call it PM thoughts, and it's just I kind of info dump about my day and what worked and what didn't, and, maybe anything that I wanna remember for first thing tomorrow. And then recently, I've started keeping I just have a tiny little, like, pocket journal, and, I had a clever name for it that I'm forgetting now, but basically anything that I consider like a win, I put in there so that, like, if I'm ever having a rough day, it's like I can look back at the good things that like accomplishments or just, days that really stand out. And so I can kind of focus on the positive energy from that instead of getting stuck in the negative self-thought loops that I've been prone to forever.
I love that. I think that, like, that's kind of how I feel with my gratitude journaling. And I feel similarly. I just wrote a newsletter about this, about morning pages, because one of the things about the practices is I similarly but different to you, I'm not I don't, like, kind of consciously think negatively about myself, but I feel really negatively about myself in a bunch of different ways, and doing the morning pages was really the first time I was like, "Whoa, I did not know that that is how I was perceiving myself, and now that it's there on the page, it's out of me, and it feels
Yeah.
so much better."
And it really does make a huge difference. And then I've
Mhm.
also started keeping a secondary, bullet journal, and for that, I just basically do, like, my daily tasks, like, I have a to-do list that I do there, and then at
Mhm.
night, I have, people call it AMWAP, it's as many wins as possible. Just anything from so it's very similar to gratitudes, but it's just, like, anything that I consider to win that day, whether it be, like, my coffee was extra good or, like, just anything, and I just
Oh,
list
I
as
love
many as
that.
yeah. So
Oh,
it's
I'm gonna try doing that tonight because that seems so that's like a turbocharged
yeah.
gratitude list, like, whoa.
Yeah, it works perfect. I've split it so it's like in the bullet journal, I have 2 days per page, so 4 days per,
Mhm.
2-page spread, and it's just like little things too, is like, if I have to remember to go to the post office, it's like that goes on the to-do list. It's just like it's also kind of a way for me to track small wins because I'd spend a lot of my time home. I was injured years ago, so I'm mostly
Mhm.
homebound these days, and sometimes it can feel like I didn't accomplish anything. And it's like, so tracking even little things like getting errands done and, editing a podcast is like, I just dismiss those by the end of the day as just a thing I did. But it's like when it's on a list and you check it off, like there is something to the seeing it and the tactile, like checking it off of a to do list that makes it feel like you actually accomplished something. Cause again, it's easy to dismiss what you do in a day. You can, at the end of the day, be able to be like, I didn't do anything today. But then it's like, if you actually stop and write it down, it's like, I did a lot of things today.
You're so right, and I think it's that, like, grounding element, it's bringing you back into that. I, just read Atomic Habits by James Clear for a podcast series I'm doing. The episode will be out Tuesday, the whatever tomorrow is. Either way, um one of the things that he recommends is like a habit tracker, right? So you like it's just a physical act of crossing something off a list. He says is like that brings you enough satisfaction to keep the habit going. And that's completely how I feel about any kind of act or list or behavior that I put down on paper is it's like, yeah, I did this. I'm really proud of myself for doing that. Especially, I mean, I don't know, I feel that you're probably quite similar. Like I also feel the same way where if I send an email that I'm not looking forward to, it's like, okay, I sent that email. But really, it's like, no, that should be applauded. It doesn't need to be a big celebration with champagne and fireworks, but like, yeah, you worked hard today. You reached out to your friends today. Like you had a nice cup of coffee today. Like acknowledging all of that is really, really important.
Absolutely, and it's like I've always had a good enough memory where I don't forget to do things, so it's like I don't need the to-do list to stay on task, but it's more about acknowledging even the small accomplishments in a day, and I think it's made a huge difference for me, and occasionally it'll save me too, where I look at the end of the day, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I did wanna check this and I didn't do that yet." So, it does come in handy in that way, but it really is just about kind of acknowledging the things that I do throughout a day because it's really easy to miss the little things, but they add up and they matter.
Definitely, and writing them down, it puts it in a place of permanency, it draws your attention to it, and I think it's also finding the routine that works for you. I have a lot of friends who are like, I can't journal, I'm not a journal person," and I'm like, a list is a journal entry.
Yeah.
Like, a doodle from the day is a journal entry. It doesn't have to be like a long flowing, like, "And today I composed my correspondence and then went to the shop," like, it can just be a tiny little check-in, whatever that looks like.
Yeah, I have a mutual on TikTok, her name is Jamie, and she does something called junk journaling, and
Yes,
she
I've seen this.
I absolutely love it. I've gotten a journal to start one myself. I asked her about the supply she used, and I haven't gotten around to starting it yet, but I want to because she just finds the most mundane things from, like, her day that would otherwise be thrown away, and, like, she's created these amazing artistic spreads. I think that's the part I would struggle with. I don't have that innate artistic ability in me, but I think it's such a cool way to just track the everyday things too in a different way. She writes little bits about the different things, but it's not like she's sitting there and writing pages and pages, but she's still having, similar outcome to what we're doing, just in a different medium. I guess it's the same because it's in a journal, but like it's more artistic expression versus words. But it's such a cool way to go about it, and it's still journaling.
Totally, I love that. I've seen the junk journals, and I'm the same as you. I'm not like a visually artistic person at all. I have tried to junk journal, and it looks a bit wonky, but that's okay. Like it's again, it's drawing attention to the little moments. Or I have seen on TikTok people do like a sketch a day, and I'm like, man, in a little moleskin, one little sketch. I think it's great.
Yeah, I've been thinking about. I got back into photography this year, and I've been thinking I have a little instant printer that does, like, they're kinda like the half, Polaroid size. They're
Yes, I have a
for
friend who has one of these.
and I think that I'm thinking I'm gonna use my journal for that, just kinda to track my progress with photography as I'm getting back into it because I took a long time away, and I was like, it'll be a fun way to look back at, like, kind of the beginning of this journey with photography, and that way I can visually see the improvements and the differences, and I'm also finding I think you'd probably agree with this too, is that I love technology, and the world has become so technology focused. It feels really good to do analog things. Like I'm wearing an analog mechanical watch. I like the journaling. I like physical photos instead of just online portfolios. Like,
I am the exact same. I'm real and I it started for me, I was watching I don't know what season it was of Stranger Things. It must have been the last one because that came out a couple of years ago. Um, but someone was using, like, a punch number phone, like a phone from the '80s. Someone was making a phone call in that show, and so obviously they used a phone with actual, like, punch numbers on it.
yeah,
It was like looking at someone smoking a cigarette. I was like, "I need to touch not like, a button so badly." And I realized that I don't interact with my physical world, like, tactilely at all. Like, even using a phone, it's just like a single pane of glass that your fingers don't even have your nerves aren't even experiencing different textures when we're engaged online, in addition to all the other things that we're, like, so unplugged from, pardon the pun, like, in the real world.
right.
But I completely agree. I'm very, very, like, I wanna what's the other one that we just got the game Rummy Cube. Have you ever played that?
I don't think so.
It's like a tile game, it's like pattern matching, but it has little tiles, and to play with the little tiles is so rewarding, like, to be moving one little tile to another place on the table. I feel insane because these are the smallest tactile experiences, but I've just been so disconnected from, like, the tactile world that doing anything analog feels really, really good.
No, I'm with you there. I was never a board game person, but I desperately want to be one. So, like,
Mm.
I just got, like, a little pocket game yesterday. It's called Tinder Blocks, and it's you use tweezers to build a little fire. You can play by yourself or with other people, and it's like I have a daughter, she's almost 16, and I'm desperately trying to get her to be a board game person with me, and she's like she'll humor me every now and then, but she doesn't get the appeal. But I showed her this one last night, and she was like, "Okay, we can play that sometime." And I'm like, "Ah, come on, like, go down this rabbit hole with me."
Please. That sounds like a great game. I'm gonna have to look into that one.
I didn't know this before I got it, but I read the instructions, and it you basically flip a card, and it shows you how to build the fire using different blocks. They're very small, they're like
Ooh,
this big,
okay.
and you have to use tweezers, and on certain cards it has a hand on it, and I was like, "What does that mean?" "Oh, you have to use your non-dominant hand, and if you knock it over, you lose." And I'm like, "That's so fun." It's so like, there's no rules to learn, it's just a silly little thing, but it's like, I don't think there's enough of that. Like, there's a lot of great video games, and everything is a screen, and it's like, I'm not opposed to
Mhm,
technology. I actually love technology. Like, I used to work in sales with cell phones. I was
mhm.
constantly getting new phones and new devices, and, like, I really was heavy into it, and I still like it, but it's like there is something different and sometimes more rewarding about an analog experience. Like, even if something as silly
100%.
as, like, when you're angry and you hang up the phone, like, smashing the button on the screen is not the same as hanging up an actual physical landline.
Exactly, I know, I completely agree, like or I've bought a mechanical keyboard that I use sometimes when I'm typing, and that's so much nicer than typing on my laptop or worse, on my phone screen.
Yeah.
It is, I miss the analog world, and the more I look forward to, like, what my life is, I'm just trying to incorporate more of those analog experiences, whether it's a board game, a mechanical keyboard, journaling, or, coloring. I got really into not even, coloring book coloring this year, but in my journal for a while. I need to get back into it. I was just using, like, colored markers or pencils and just doodling just to see different colors and to exercise that part of my brain that hadn't been used in a while. That's a really fun thing to do in a journal is just, like, pull out a page and be like, "I'm just gonna doodle and see what happens here."
Yeah, I kinda went down that rabbit hole with fountain pens. I have, like, 5 of them. They're all
I love this.
They're all super cheap, and I also have a bunch of, like, super cheap ink as well, and they're all inked up a different color, and I usually coordinate them with which journal I'm writing in, and different ones have different purposes, and it's like it makes it special, though. It's like, I have a special pen to use in my little notebook that's for wins, like, it's the
Mhm,
fanciest looking
mhm.
one, and that's the one I use for the good stuff,
I love that. I love it.
and I think maybe I'll be proven wrong here, but I like to believe that we're ahead of the curve here. I think that everything is a cycle, and I think the analog stuff is making a comeback. I think even amongst teenagers, like my daughter, like her her age group, they very much yearn for Y2K. They think that
Mhm.
Y2K is the coolest stuff, and I find it so funny. But it's like anything I can get her that reminds her of like the early 2000s, she seems to be into, and it's like they they like the old point and shoot cameras more than they have a better camera on their phone.
Mhm.
And it's like all of the stuff is it's like it's a lot of it's still technology, but back then, even then, the technology was more analog and tactile and
Totally. No, I completely agree, and I think you're right. I say this all the time. I think that we are ahead of the curve. I from what I feel, I don't know, being online, I write, so I look at the world a lot, not to that sounds really egomaniacal. I really do feel that we're going to return to more analog experiences, more in-person experiences. I think that's just what people are craving right now. But that said, I think that you should get your daughter some do you remember the blow up furniture from the
yeah,
early 2000s? That was a real when I got my first blow up chair, I was like, "Now I've made it."
those were cool. Yeah, I've been thinking I'm gonna get her a disposable camera
Oh,
and
yes.
have her, like, take it to the pharmacy and have to wait a week for the pictures. It's like I
She'll love it. It'll be great for her.
there's something about that that was very fun, is, like, also you never knew what you were gonna get, and you might have everyone might be blurry.
As opposed to today where I take a photo on my phone, I'm like, delete, retake, delete, retake, delete, retake. Like, how nice to go through the world messy as well. Like nothing is so perfect or you can't restage things. It's you just have to take what is right then and there.
Yeah, and I actually with me getting back into photography, she's been interested in as well. So I found a deal on I mean, it was a professional grade camera in 2005.
Mhm.
It was like a $4,500 camera. I got it for 150 bucks. And I was like, I gave it to her and I was like, this doesn't have all the bells and whistles of like, you can't, it's not a touch screen. Like it has a
Mhm.
screen on the back. It's super low quality. I was like, you basically take the pictures with this and then like you look at them once they're on the computer to edit them. Like, and I was like, if you're gonna learn photography, you may as well do it with something old school because you'll learn more. Because it's like I got my new camera and it's 10 years newer than the last camera I had, and it's
Mhm.
insane how much smarter it is than 10 years ago. It's like it's crazy. So I was like, if you're gonna learn, learn the old school
Well,
way.
you're that's good. No, that is good parenting though, because that the lessons will solidify, and now she'll be able to take it, wherever she wants to take it. If there is a new, more high-tech camera that she's interested in the future, she'll already have the basic principles.
That's why I was thinking about like I learned photography my freshman year of high school in a photography class, and we used a super cheap old school film camera. And I was like, this is the equivalent
Mhm.
of that. It's at least digital, but it's like it's early digital. It's 20
Yeah,
years
yeah.
old.
Very, very good.
Now, something else I wanted to talk to you about is you are self-employed,
Mhm.
and for I believe a long time, or if not always, you weren't. So this is something that's newer for you.
Yes.
Is there anything in particular that caused that shift, or is that just something that you had wanted to do?
That's a good question. I So I guess I should say my part of my family are all entrepreneurs. My grandfather had his own business, my uncle has his own business. My great uncles were, entrepreneurs as well. My father is has always been like corporate, 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 like, rising kind of through the ranks in a company, in a commercial company. Um, when I graduated from my master's, I went into just a corporate marketing role in an estate agent in Ireland. And it was good and I enjoyed it. And then I moved into another role and that was also good and I enjoyed that as well. But I had this moment of realization somewhere along the line where I really felt like I guess what I'll say is one of the roles I was in, it was a very, very small team. So I knew the CEO really well. I knew the major shareholders. Like it was very, very new company. And I was able to see that, like, wait a minute, no one here really knows what they're doing. Not in a bad way. Like they're all great at their jobs. But it wasn't like anyone had come into this company and had been born a CEO or had been born a shareholder or had been born an ops manager. Everyone had to learn something to get to where they were in whatever position they were in, including the CEO and the major shareholders. And I love school. I've always loved school. I'm a big learner. And I was kind of like, if they can do that, I can do that. Again, not in a disparaging way to them, but it was more like, I can kind of teach myself how to do business if I need to teach myself how to do business. I can teach myself how to find clients and write a contract and whatever, whatever. So the way it ended up working out was I'd been living abroad in Ireland. I was coming home to the States, and it just felt like a really natural time to try to go out on my own, which
Right.
was a little bit funny because I was starting a new business for the first time in a place I hadn't lived in like 8 years and had 0 connections in. So I don't know what kind of confidence I had to be like, "Sure, I'll make this work," but I did. And that was really it. I really felt like I really seeing these other people build this business and me being an employee of that business, I was like, "There's no reason I can't do this myself." And so I did. And it also, I will say, I also just felt that my earning ceiling would be a lot higher if I was out on my own. Even if I never started like, a company with employees or subcontractors, like even going freelance, I was kind of like, I think my ceiling is a lot higher than if I go into um a formal kind of company when I go back to the States.
Yeah, that makes sense. The corporate world is ultra competitive these days, and they're wages are stagnant. Um,
Completely.
yeah, like they have not changed in most of our adult life.
And I think the other big thing is, like, I'm a very anxious person.
Same.
There's yeah, same, nice, very good, on the same wavelength. There's something really, really nice about like, this sounds so crazy, but I have this kinda gut feeling where it's like, "Oh, if it doesn't work out with that client, there's another client around the door." I did not feel that way at a corporate in a corporate role. Like, I felt like really like, "Oh my god, I have to be there at 9 a.m. answering emails all day. I have to get this back to so and so in 2 hours, even though it's gonna take me 6 hours to do it." Like, I had so much more anxiety working for other people because my life felt so dependent on this one job.
Right.
Whereas now it's kind of like, okay, I had a client last week, no fault of my own. The company is just it's going through some really big changes and they, were like, "Hey, we need to put your contract on hold for a month, if not longer." And it was like, "Okay, no problem because I've got so and so over here that I'm working with. I've got this proposal out. I know I can go to this networking event." Like, I just feel a lot more in control than I did in a corporate role.
Yeah, that makes sense. I do little bits here and there, and I never anticipated going the route of an entrepreneur. But then I look back and it's like even when I had a job, I always had some type of side hustle, and it was always something
Mhm.
I threw myself into without full knowledge. Like a great example is like years ago in the early 2000 teens, I was working for T-Mobile and I was doing retail sales, and it is honestly pretty good money, especially being in a city like New York.
Mhm.
And I used to be really into sneakers, and I was like,
Nice.
you know what everybody who wears sneakers needs is, like, accessories that match. So it's like, in, like, 2014, I was importing, like, cheap digital LED watches from China and reselling them. And it was
That's
like
amazing.
I didn't even think of that as, like at the time, I didn't consider a side hustle. I didn't think it was entrepreneurial at all. It was just like, "Oh, I wanna make some extra money this month, so let's do this." And it
I
was like
feel like that's real entrepreneur stuff, though. Like, when I think about my work, I'm like, "I'm a freelancer, I'm a consultant." Like, that to know to, like, kinda see the trends and, like, buy product and sell it on, that really impresses me.
and I was like, "I don't know how to make a website, but I'm going to make one." And there was something at the time called, like, bigcartel.com where you could have your own
Mhm.
website through them for free. So it was like big bigcartel.com/NYC accessories because that was my little side business. And it's like then it's like from there, I went on to having an Amazon store, and I still have online stores. Like I shifted from sneakers to I sell a lot of books now.
Mm.
I buy up a lot of books and I keep the ones that I want and I sell the rest. And it's like there's a lot of people selling lots of like I got like 400 old 80s and 70s sci-fi books for $20, and it's like
Oh, cool.
I picked some winners out of there too. I got $20 worth of books for myself. And then
Yeah.
everything else that I'm not interested in, I have a Pango Books, I have eBay, I have Amazon, and so I still do a little bit of that.
I think it what you just said about, like, the website too is I think that's even similar to this podcast or to being online and doing content creation. When people talk about, like, being an entrepreneur, I think it's really just about, like, I'm curious enough to figure out how it works. It doesn't have to be perfect. I don't have to have, like, the strongest business plan because 'cause I'm not necessarily taking this to a bank to get a loan. It's more about, like, I feel pretty confident I can figure this out. And if
Yeah.
I can't, I'll figure something else out. Like, when I started my podcast, I mean, I still know very little about audio editing, but it's like, okay, but I know I can buy a microphone. I know I can figure out where to host it. I know I can figure out, like, what to talk about. I really think that comes down to it is just, like, feeling like, "Yeah, I can figure this out."
Yeah, and podcasting at first to me didn't seem natural because I am very anxious. But then it's like I look back to my childhood and the running joke amongst my extended family was that I talk too much. I like
Yeah.
as a child, I got told that all the time, and it's like, well, podcasts are just talking a lot. So it's like I apparently have that ability within myself. So let's just rekindle that and bring that back out.
I love that. I was the exact same. My parents tell stories about, like, sitting across from the dinner table at one of another, just looking and being like, "Will she ever shut up?" 'Cause
Well, it's like I had
so, but I'm the same. I'm very anxious, so it's weird that I would wanna do this.
I remember my mom like, looking back, I didn't see it this way, but it was like, when I was a kid, one of our neighbors was a cop, which to, like, a six-year-old boy, so cool, and
Oh,
he
absolutely.
had a boat in his driveway, on a trailer,
Double whammy.
and I was like my mom used to go get me, and I'd be like, "Oh, why is she here?" It's like, she was saving the neighbor from me. He was just outside trying to, like, wash his boat and have a beer, and I was like, "I'm gonna ask you every question in the world." It's like
That is so cute.
but, like, looking back, I was like, "Man, why is she bothering me? It's not dinner time yet," and it's like, no, she was just saving the neighbor.
She was just like, "Oh, there he is again. Gotta go get." That is so funny. And what do you think about a boat? And why do you use your boat? And what do you use your No, that's
That
adorable.
was 100% me at all times as a kid, and it's like that's where it's like high school, I became socially anxious, and it's like, damn, sometimes I wish I had that kid in me, and I'm starting to let it back out with the podcast and just talking a lot, but it's like, even right before we jumped on, we were saying how it's nice to talk face to face because like, we've been
Yes.
mutuals on Book Talk for a long time or TikTok,
Ages, yeah.
and it's like, we haven't we DMs count for something, but it's not the same as actually being able to look at each other and talk, and the main reason I started this was just to find passion again because with my injury, I spent years in bed on an island by myself feeling pretty depressed, so it's like
Yeah.
but I have refound things so quickly and new hobbies, and just, like, I just wanna talk to everybody about what like, even if people are into things I'm not into, it's like, I wanna hear about it, like, let's talk.
That is what's amazing about, again, I know we're just like, "Let's go analog," but I that is what's amazing about the internet as well.
Yeah.
When I got onto Book Talk, like, I had no idea about, I mean, I read a lot of literary fiction, but, like, I've been introduced to so much good sci-fi or romance or what have you, like, things I would have never in a million years picked up, but someone like yourself would recommend something, or I'd have a guest on the podcast who wanted to read something or something. It's really, really cool to talk to people and, yeah, find the points of similarity, which is we all like to read, but it's really cool to find the points of difference, which is like, "Oh, what are you into? Whoa, I've never even heard of that."
Yeah, it's like I started following a couple accounts that I can think of a few people off the top of my head actually where like 95% of what they read is nonfiction. And that's how like last year I set a goal of like, I'm gonna read one nonfiction a month. And that was like not something that I've read a ton of before. And I was pretty much in my genres. And then last year I just fully leaned into like this is the year where I'm gonna read everything. Like if you put something in front of me, I'm gonna read it. Like one of my book talk friends sent me as a joke a people were calling it Amish smut. They're Amish romances, and they're so innocent that it's, like, it's ridiculous. I mean, they are Amish. In no way are
I
they
bet the
inappropriate.
I bet that's like I wonder if it's really similar to like a K-drama where like, "Oh, we're about to hold hands, but no, we can't."
Oh,
So it
yeah.
ends up being like almost spicier than an actual
And
romance.
then it's like and then I went up into the deep end of, like, some of the smutty stuff that Book Talk has to offer too, doing group reads
Mhm.
with friends I've made, and it's like and then, like, I think the only romance I had read in the past was I've read, like, 1 or 2 Nicholas Sparks books way back in the day, but it's like it
Mhm.
I never even considered it, but it's like I've read some even some stuff that's pretty spicy, and it's like, "But the wait, this was actually a pretty good book," like,
Yes.
and is
Absolutely.
and so it's like I've been open to a whole new world, but it's like without the differences amongst all of the people that I follow on Book Talk, like I would have just been stuck in my fantasy sci-fi little bubble forever, which was fine. There's plenty of good books in that genre, but like it is so fun seeing something that someone else loves and be like, all right, let me check that out.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. It's one of the best parts about being online, and it goes for everything, journaling practices, like, I'm totally gonna do, was it AMWOP? Is
Yeah.
that what it's called?
Yep. As
Yeah,
many ones as
AMWOP this
possible.
evening. I cannot wait to do that, or movies, or whatever it is. It's really, really cool to be able to connect with everyone and see just how wide the world actually is.
And let's talk a little bit about your podcast while we're here. I think the first episode I listened to of yours, I actually ended up reading the book. It was The Alchemist. You had I believe it was one of your friends on, and I thought it was
Mhm.
such a cool concept where you were having people you knew on, at least back then, the episodes I was seeing were people from your IRL life, and you guys
Mhm.
were reading a book and then discussing it, like, I think at one point it was everyone was choosing their favorite book. Wasn't that what they were doing? And you were reading it?
Yeah. That was exactly it. It has gone my podcast has undergone a little bit of a change, and sneak peek, we're all gonna be undergoing another pretty big change in the next couple of months, which I'll keep you updated on, but that was the initial concept, and that was the name of it too, Broken Spine Social Club. Broken spine being like, I destroy my books, like, I write in them, I dog ear them, I'm cracking them open, I'm taking them in the bath, like, they're messes by the time I'm done with a book. And then the social club was just like, cute. What a nice place to all come together and talk about books. And yeah, that was the initial premise was I was gonna read my friend's favorite books. And it was great for a while. And I hit a point where I was getting a little bit burnt out because I wasn't reading anything that I really, really wanted to read.
Yeah, that can get tough.
And exactly, that was really hard. I found some amazing books, like, ones that I would have never in a million years picked up. I have a friend who's a game biologist, and she recommended a book called A Sand County Almanac, and it was kind of one of the first ever conservation ecology books that was written in the US. It's from, like, 1948, and it was about this Wisconsinite, um oh, I forget his name. Don't worry about it, who was just talking about, like, the ecosystem and how we're all part of an ecosystem and his land in Wisconsin, and never something I would have picked up in a million years, and then she came on, she's like, "Nope, this is what I wanna read," and I was like, "Great, let's do it," and it was fantastic. Now we're expanding it out a little bit more where we're not just talking about a certain book, but maybe how we read in the modern world is probably the best way to put it. So I've had, book talkers come on and talk about what it's like to read online. I have book talk friends who are really into like fantasy who have come on and talked all about fantasy or historical fiction. Um, and I've started doing a couple other bits too, like, I've done 1 episode, I should do more. Seasonal reading, seasonal living, which is like, these are all books that remind me of summer, and these are some practices that I do to try to live as seasonally as possible, analog, grounded, all of that good stuff. So,
The sounds of that.
yeah,
And
that was a fun one. I need to do that one again.
I really liked on your TikTok account in over the last couple weeks, you did like a whole series breaking down. I forget the name of the book that you had read.
Yes,
You like did a deep
Brit
dive on that, and I was like, "This is fantastic," because like I was really getting a good sense from those videos of like what the book is about, and trying to
oh
like
my god, thank you so
take some of
much.
that in because that was a really good. I love that too. You broke out the notebook with physical notes and really got into it.
Yeah, that was, the Joe Dispenza Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, and I've got
Yes.
another one that I need to film this week. Um, but yeah, that's I find the hardest part, and I don't know if you feel this way too, the hardest part I find with, like, having the podcast and being online is, like, promoting it in a way that doesn't feel salesy,
Yeah.
but also is, like, easy to do. Like, I think maybe it's just because 'cause I'm very burnt out of, technology like we've been talking about. I'm finding it really tricky lately to, like, sit down, open up my phone, and, like, edit a video with B-roll and captions and overlay, like, it's just exhausting to me. So those were really fun to do. It was literally just like, "Bing, bing, bang, I'm doing this in 3 parts, they can go out whenever. Bob's your uncle."
Yeah. Yeah, and the algorithm on social media is very difficult with promoting a podcast too, because I've run into huge issues. I spent all morning a little frustrated by this today, actually, because I had an episode go out and it was a really great episode. Evan is a debut author and he's got a big presence on Book Talk. And anytime I like mention my podcast, it just gets super suppressed.
Same,
So it's like
same.
I tried posting a clip last night, suppressed. I tried just doing photos this morning, suppressed. And then I did a trending, 7-second sound and it was out for 45 minutes and it had 6 views. And I was like, well, that's not fun. And it's like,
I can always tell when the algorithm is really screwing me over because, like, my mom will be the first one to like a post, and I'm like, that means it hasn't gone anywhere."
yeah. And it's just, and it, from a business standpoint, I get it. Like TikTok they want to keep eyes there. They want to hog your
Mhm.
attention. And so it's like, I'm not even using hashtag podcast. I'm not even mentioning the word podcast. Like, not even mentioning the title of it. I'm just like, "New episode," and it's like, that must be enough for the algorithm to pick up on it, and it's like it does become super hard because it's like I already am trying to walk a line of, like, I'm not trying to sell you anything with this. It's just like, "It was a cool episode, you might be interested." So it's like you have to walk that line of not being salesy and then also walk a line of, like, the algorithm really just doesn't want me to do this.
Well, and speaking of the algorithm, I have to say thank you so much because 'cause you're always, like, one of the first people to like, reshare, and save,
Oh, yeah.
and it's
I do the bottom up
so
every time.
you're so good, and I appreciate it so much. I'm, like, so all over the place when I'm online that I completely, like, zone doing it, but that's a good habit I need to do, especially for you and the other TikTok pals. But, like, that's, like, I think the best thing that you can do for someone in this era when they are suppressing so much
Yeah,
content.
but anyone that I consider, like, a friend on there, I'm like, I have to watch the whole thing.
Mhm.
I'll hold the edge, 2x speed's okay, I don't think that hurts the
Yeah,
algorithm, but, like,
totally. No.
everyone's attention span is shot these days. But, yeah, I
Mhm.
do, I repost, favorite it, like it. I try to comment, but usually only if, like, I feel like I have something relevant to say because I don't wanna just, like, spam emojis because I don't know if it
Totally.
helps at all.
Yeah, and I feel like now I can tell, like, I've been watching other videos and I'll see, like, 6 comments in a row that are just, like, 3 of the same emoji, and I'm like, "That's gotta be bots." Like, there's
Yeah, and
no way that
that's
those are
why I feel
people,
like
right?
it can't be helpful because TikTok's
Yeah.
algorithm is pretty smart, like, frustratingly so at
It's
times.
crazy.
It's fantastic
Yeah.
for how tuned into what you want it is, but then,
Mhm.
like, from the consumer side, it's great, but from the content side, it gets frustrating, and it's like, it suppresses the wrong ones. It's
Absolutely.
like, I've had a couple videos go semi-viral, and it's like, they're the ones I don't care about. Like, they were funny that,
That's what it
like
always is. And that's what I try to, like, and I think that you doing still talking about, like, the books you're reading and doing book reviews or when you're in the car or the pizza, like, I think that's the like, it feels like that's, like, the only thing to do is be like, "Okay, this is me. This is what I'm talking about. If you like me enough, maybe you'll scroll through my page and find out that I have a podcast."
Yeah,
Because at this stage, trying to, like, actually promote it is not gonna work. I'll still throw my little clips up, but
yeah.
yeah, it's tricky.
I've even thought of going old school where, like, I edit most of these episodes at the same cafe, and I'm like, "They have a bulletin board, maybe I should put a poster up because like, I'm here
I
once
thought
a
about that
week."
too.
I'm here once a week, I love the place, they're super cool, they're, coffee and beer, and they have, like, leather
Oh, very
couches,
good.
and, like, they have, like, a trivia night, like, they're very cool there, and I'm like, I've seen, you know, sillier things up on the bulletin board, so I'm sure they wouldn't mind. I'm like, I should I make thumbnails, I can design something that looks cool. It's like, I should just go around
Totally.
to all the cafes I frequent and, like, let's go old school with this.
That's kinda how or, to be honest, I was taking a walk in my neighborhood here, and on one of the community billboards, there was a poster for a Substack about books,
Oh, really?
and it had a QR code, and I scanned it and I followed.
Yeah, that's smart with the QR codes.
So,
I didn't even think of that. That's what I need to do.
yeah.
Have
Yeah, do a QR
QR
and you
code
can
that
do
goes
them for
right to my YouTube.
totally, and because I think you can do them for free on Canva, maybe.
I
Either way, I would totally recommend doing a I'll do it too, we'll do this
think
together.
we'll do an experiment, yeah.
Exactly, we'll check back in.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it because it's like, there's gotta be a way, like, I'm not trying to sell you anything here. There's no course at the end of this.
Exactly.
There's no I'm trying to buy a little bit of your attention. That's really what it is. And
Mhm.
but I do think that I've had fantastic guests that are super interesting. And I think that it's cool for people to check this out. Like I think that that's the value in what we're doing with both of our podcasts is getting to speak to interesting people who if they don't connect with us, they might connect with one of our guests.
That's such a good way of looking at it, and I fully, fully agree. Like, I think that's the best way to look at it, and the thing that I try to think too, and this is very, like, woo woo, like, big picture thinking is, I think that we live in a world that understandably attention is completely a resource.
Yeah.
It's a min a million one places. People want you to buy everything. People want you to consume, consume, consume. I think that there's something to be said for participating, even if it's not commercially rewarded immediately, in an environment where we are mutually trying to promote reading and friendships and community around reading, and that this is a valuable enough exercise that we are two people who have gone out and bought microphones and hosting platforms and just doing our part, I suppose, to keep that really passionate love of reading alive.
Funnily
Oh,
enough, they're
we're
the same brand.
matching. Yours is really good.
Yeah, this is
I might
fancy looking.
That's a really, really good one. It's very fancy, but it sounds really good
Yeah,
too. Like, I think yours sounds
I've
better
been
than mine.
impressed. I've been impressed with this brand in general because I've seen reviews for multiple versions, and they're very affordable compared to once
Completely.
when I went down the rabbit hole a little bit when I was starting the podcast, I was like, "Oh, man, some of these mics get expensive." And you see, like, the
Mhm.
Shure mic on most podcasts that are, like, higher level, and it's like, "Yep, that is not in the budget for this little side project of
Nope.
mine."
Totally agree. I did have a friend who has a podcast about, like, conspiracy theories, and she was saying that, she looks on Facebook Marketplace, and even Amazon will I mean, they're still expensive, but to
Yeah.
buy a used one, she's like, so many people start podcasts and then give them up after 3 months that there are always, like, good mics floating around. I'm like, "That's a good idea. I should check that out more."
Yeah, I saw something, a statistic once that said that I think it was something crazy, like 80% of podcasts don't make it past 10 episodes,
Yes,
and
I saw that too.
of the percentage that makes it past 10, only something like 5% make it past 25 episodes, and I'm like, I'm at this one we're recording now will be episode 30, so it's like so I did it, like,
Very good.
in the
You did it.
1% of
Congratulations.
podcasting now.
I love that. Big celebration. You
Yeah.
deserve that.
Yeah, and it's like I had a goal of getting out an episode every week this year, and, like, that got derailed. I got COVID, and then a month later, I got bronchitis, and when COVID hit, I was like struggling to try and record at least something to put out by myself. Could barely talk. I was coughing up a storm. I was like, "Nobody wants to hear that." Like, let's be realistic with these goals. It's okay if we shift them a little bit. I started in November, so at the end of 2025, I think I'll still be at 52 episodes. So it still counts. It's
Amazing.
like,
That totally still counts. And I think too, I think what am I at? 43? I think episode 43 will go out tomorrow. Oh, hi, kitty.
this is Simba. He usually joins at some point.
Beautiful.
Yep.
Gorgeous. Nice. There we go.
Typical cat.
Cat butt.
Yep.
But, yeah, I mean, like, I was the same. When I first started, I was like, and this is also part of why the format of my podcast has changed because reading a book a week is doable if you're just reading a book a week.
Yeah.
Reading a book a week, taking notes, pulling together, like, resources, interview questions, that takes a lot of time. And there have been a couple, same kind of thing, like, I had some family stuff where it was just like, I can't put out an episode for 2 weeks, and that's just the way it has to be.
Right.
Fortunately, I mean, fortunately, I don't have a large enough listenership where it's like, "Oh my god, this is gonna, like, derail my career." But also, fortunately, like, when I have had to take a break, I haven't seen a real drop off in anything. Like, people kinda return to it, which is really, really nice.
Yeah. I've actually noticed like an increase since coming back. I think I got better about how I presented it and just overall, I think the product has improved. So I've been seeing an uptick
Mhm,
and I think, especially with what you were doing with reading a book a week, it is doable, but it leaves very little time for reading the books you wanna read, and
mhm, exactly.
I think you have to be careful with this kind of thing. It was like I think back to my dad as an example where when I was a kid, he had a gas station, and he also was a mechanic, he fixed cars. My dad's biggest passion in life has always been fishing, and he turned the garage into a tackle center, and he was super excited about it, but then, like, I've spoken to him now years later, and he was like, yeah, he's like, "I was selling people all of the gear to go fishing instead of fishing myself." Like, he's like, "It took me a few years to realize I didn't wanna be doing that anymore." And he eventually sold it, and it was like, you have to be real careful making your passion a job, and it's like, right now, I think I'm with a perfect balance with this. I really enjoy it, but it's like, I don't wanna do something that takes away from the main hobby of reading. So it's like, this is a plus. It's not but, like, if you were, like, with your schedule, like, that had to have been going the other way real quick.
It really, really did, and I found myself in a place where, like, I have never been in such a bad reading slump. Like, I think at the end, even this year, like I read a lot of literary fiction, so I'm not kind of like cruising through books. I'm generally around maybe, like I'm generally around, I would say between 45 and 50 books a year is kinda what I get through, like, almost a book a week, a little bit less.
Yeah.
God, I think this year it's what, July? I've probably read 9 books maybe, but just that I had such, like, a reading slump hangover after last year that I found it really difficult to find something that I really wanted to read. That said, I'm absolutely coming out of that now. And 2, I mean, like, when you're online and like we've been talking about, like, I want people to find this, I want people to listen, I'm excited about it. But then it also begins to feel like, okay, now I have to make a lot of content about what I'm reading.
Yeah.
And now I have to like have a point about it and I've got to do the review. And if I don't do the review quick enough or if I don't do my media recap quick enough, like it starts to be a little pressure. But we're absolutely coming out of that, which is very good news.
Yeah, that's what I stopped doing book reviews for a while. I kinda psyched myself out because I follow a couple people, I'm mutuals with them, and they're so good at them that I was like, "My reviews are nothing like that, and they never will be." And then it's like
Yep.
I really had to remind myself that it's like, "Okay, but people have read books that I recommended and said that they were thankful that I recommended it." So it's like, I'm offering value, but in a different way. Like, I may not break it down like, some people have, like, exact scoring systems, and I think I've decided unless it's a five-star read, like, that really stands out, I don't think my reviews are gonna include what I rated it because I don't think that that's necessarily relevant, because if I'm gonna recommend a book, I really enjoyed it, and, like, whether that's a 3.75 or a 5 or 4.5, like, I don't think that necessarily matters because I also I rate very much on vibes, like, I've had people ask, like, "Oh, what does it take to be a five-star read?" And I'm like, "I don't know, I just know when I read it." Like, I can't give
Mhm.
you, like, like, I guess it's, like, usually I feel it in my gut, and I would definitely reread it, but it's like, that's not solid. I would reread a lot of
I'm
books.
I'm the way that I'm always like, well, it's 5 stars if I can remember what it's about in a good way.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like so many books I read like, my sister texted me the other day, and she was like, "Oh, you recommended what is it? The Bronze Horseman to me when I was in 8th grade, and I've just bought a copy for my coworker." And I was like, "The Bronze Horseman?" And I looked it up, and I found read the, synopsis, and I still couldn't remember what that book was. And I was like, "Wow, okay, maybe that one wasn't the 5 star I thought it was," because however many years later, I don't remember ever cracking that book open. But yeah, that's more of where I'm at now is it's like if I trust my gut and also with like we were talking about to go full circle, the caveat being like, you might not like this. This is the kind of stuff I like. There are a lot of books out there that I really, really don't like. I don't think that they're bad books or written by bad people or the people who read them are bad people. It's just not my vibe.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've read
Mhm.
plenty of books that other people lonesome dove. Everyone loves that one. But there's been plenty where I'm like, where people were blown away by it, and I'm like, "That was pretty good," but, like,
Yeah.
everybody is so different, and all art is subjective, but I think especially books and writing in general is very subjective
Mhm.
too. Um, but before we go, because I just noticed we're already an hour, but we should talk a little bit about your writing because you've been very active on Substack. I started one last year and I got a few posts in, and then I haven't written in a long time, but I have been reading yours and enjoying it. I should probably get back to it, but it's hard to make
You
time.
should. It's really hard to make time to do it. Um, but I mean, even mine, I'm only writing regularly in the last couple of months. That was kind of a goal of mine for the year. If you go back on my Substack, I think my first post was from like 2022. And it's like 6 months later, another post, 4 months later, another post. Um, but yeah, my background is in writing. I have a master's in creative writing, and I have a novel that has been sitting in a drawer for so long that I should probably stop telling people about it, to be honest. Um, but I when I was in college, I had a blog, and I really, really loved blogging because this sounds so egomaniacal, but I just like to write about myself and how I think the world is. Like, that's the only way I can describe it. It's a little bit like cultural, essay. It's a little bit personal essay. It's just about, like, the things I'm interested in and how I perceive the world. And it's a great platform. Like, people are great on Substack. There's so much there too. Like, I recently downloaded the Substack app. Before I was like, "Oh, I'll just read it on email or I'll read it on my laptop when I'm, like, not doing work," and it just didn't work, and now genuinely, whenever I feel like, "Ooh, I really wanna scroll," I just open up the Substack app and I read a couple of articles, and it's really cool.
Yeah, I haven't been scrolling there as much, but I did find when I was scrolling there, it felt like a more useful,
Yeah.
use of my time. But I would say my Substack was kind of similar in that it was very much it was kind of what this podcast is. The whole concept of why I started writing it was trying to reconnect with passion because I've last year I had like I don't even know there was a midlife crisis a little early where I was just like I'm not
Mhm.
passionate about anything and that feels like a bad way to be living. Is like I still had things I enjoyed, but I didn't feel like I had any passion. And my initial goal was to try and write and reconnect with things and
Love that.
explore passion. And I've done a lot of that with the podcast, but I also had a lot of stuff I wanted to write over there that I just didn't get to. Because initially I was
Mhm.
doing the length varied. Some of them were only like 500 words, but I was putting out one a week. But then that started to feel like an assignment. And I think I should probably
Yeah.
approach it in a more casual way because I really did enjoy because I don't have any reason to write currently, other than something like that. So it was like it did felt very rusty, hadn't written in a long time, but it was a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun, and I love that idea of reconnecting with passion, like, I think that's such an you can take that into so many different places writing-wise. One of the reasons that I've been much more consistent this year is similarly, is, like, I realized that I was just consuming so much of the same, whether that was, like, in my social media, in my wardrobe, the movies I was watching, the way I was spending my time, and so this year has been all about trying to get much more intentional with how I live my life, and that becomes a lot of different things, like, I've done essays about journaling, I've done essays about, um candles and what the candle signifies to me right now. Like, it's you can if you have that kinda core central idea or something that you're curious about, you can take it a lot of different ways, but I completely hear you about it, like, ooh, me approaching it casually, and that's absolutely what I'm trying to do. Like, I write in the app. I've done a couple of posts that are like little diary entries that I can just type up on my phone at the end of the day and save. But that's also what is nice about the platform is it doesn't have to be a thought out, referenced, cited essay. It can just be, "This is how I look at the world," and people wanna see that.
Yeah, I found it so interesting when I first got there because it is super diverse in the writers. Like I came across some people that were they were basically releasing like a chapter of a book every
Yeah.
some of them it was like weekly, some of them it was monthly, but it was like that's a real throwback to, like, especially with sci-fi, that's how a lot of sci-fi books started is in magazines where they would each
Yep.
month there would be a new section, and so there's people doing that, and then there was people who are like, I followed someone that was she was like a self-proclaimed, like socially anxious introvert, and I was like, "Okay, cool." And about her discovering how to put herself out there through writing and eventually made
Mhm.
it her full-time job. And then I came across people who were just reviewing like different forms of media. Like one guy was always just writing about different albums and getting them on vinyl and like a review of it. And I was like, this is awesome. Like there's so many different niches on there. And some people approach it like very professionally. Like I follow one of my old English teachers on there. So his essays are like pretty long and super thought out and very grammatically
Oh,
correct. And then
cool.
some people, it is like a blog, and it's like both are equally enjoyable for different reasons, and it's
Yes.
super supportive people over there.
Yeah, they really, really are. I definitely think that you should get back on
Yeah.
when you feel that you have the time and capacity to do so.
Yeah, I opened it last week, I think, for the first time in a long time, just to scroll, and I was like, "I haven't done this in a while," because I've opened it a few times when you posted new ones. I was like, "Oh, let me go check that out." Um, but, like, that was very specifically and I've done the same for, like, the old teacher that I had because he writes stuff, like, interesting stuff about my hometown. He has some strong opinions about stuff going on there, and it's interesting to see, his take on it. But it
I would love if someone from my hometown wrote a Substack.
yeah, I'm originally from I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called Nantucket Island, it's in Massachusetts.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Super, super touristy place, and,
What part of Massachusetts is that?
it's an island off of Cape Cod. It's
Okay, yeah.
next to Martha's Vineyard, most people have usually heard of the Vineyard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's the island next
Okay,
to it.
my grandma is from, North Dartmouth, kinda New Bedford area.
Okay, yep.
And so I've spent some time not vacationing on Martha's Vineyard, but visiting Martha's Vineyard and then a good chunk of time in New Bedford.
Yeah, New Bedford has a similar, history to Nantucket because they were both huge.
Whaling.
Yeah. Nantucket at one point was
Yes.
the whaling capital of the world.
That's, have you read Moby Dick?
Oh, yeah, there's, that maybe I won't give it away on a podcast, but my mother's maiden name is in Moby Dick. My family's been there
No
since.
way.
Yeah, my family's been there since the 1600s.
That is so cool. One of my most valued memories is I had a great uncle. We went out to visit, and he took me to the Whaling Museum in New Bedford.
Yeah, I haven't been to that one, but I've heard it's fantastic. The one in
Good.
Nantucket when I was little was like, there's nothing really there, but they've redid it, God, probably like 10, 15 years ago, and it's amazing now. It's so cool.
Very, very cool. Oh my god, so you're a living piece of literary history. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
You should take that home, put
Yeah.
that on a t-shirt.
Somebody was actually reviewing Moby Dick the other day, and I was like, "You know what? That's one of those books that I read in high school." I was like, "I should probably reapproach that and actually try reading it this time instead of the Spark Notes." Like.
Yeah, t my I've never read it. My father was like, "It's really interesting if you approach it as just you want to learn about
Yeah,
whaling."
it's
And I was like,
very,
"Okay."
very detailed and accurate, and, I can
Yeah.
attest that 'cause, like, in 6th grade social studies, we, basically only studied Nantucket history and only whaling
Yep.
history, so know a little bit about it.
That is too funny.
But before we go, is there anything else that you would like to plug? All of your links will be in the description of the episode, but where can people find you? Where should they be looking for you?
Oh my god, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I guess down below my newsletter is blottingpapers.substack.com. I try to post there twice a week, usually once. Over on TikTok, I'm just at Zoe Yohn. I post there most frequently. And then my podcast, Broken Spine Social Club, wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, others. But yeah, those are the three biggies.
And then I guess we can throw this out for anyone who gets to the end of the episode. I will actually be a guest on your podcast
Yes.
coming up soon.
Coming up soon, exactly. I've got um it might be mid-August because I do have 2 interviews that I have to get out in early August, but either way, Jay is coming on my podcast this week. We're gonna talk about being online, books online, all of that good stuff, and can't wait to have you on.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. And thank you, everybody, for taking a little bit of time out of your week to join me on the podcast. If you like this, please remember to like, subscribe. If you want to leave a review, I heard those help the algorithm a lot. I don't know. It's worth a try. But I will be back next Monday.